The presentation is about the use of industrial names and plants, name of the plants used to name different squares, groves, parks, squares, and districts as unofficial ergonyms when those areas have their official names as well. In the toponymy, there have been suggested different terms or concepts which are basically taken from the Greek language. Urbanonym is a general name of objects in the urban landscape. Godonyms are names of the streets and boulevards. Agronyms are names of the squares, and choronyms are parks, large urban complexes, agro-industrial, sports, student hotels, and barracks. And ergonym is the name of enterprises, organizations, entities in general, from ergos, work, and onym, name. And sometimes different urbanonyms are being used, which are sometimes the antonyms of the official names used in the official toponymy. Let me start with official urbanonyms, presented in 5 different matrices. So, the first 3 represent the highways and streets. On the left side, in the left column, you have unofficial urbanonyms. Then the next column is official urbanonym. On the far right side, you have official ergonym of an enterprise or organization. And the third column represents rough location of the enterprise or organization, the names of which are used in as unofficial urbanonyms. As a result of our offline and online surveys, we realized that 19 different names are known under 22 unofficial names, where the official names of the enterprises or organizations are being used, and they're also used in order to identify the districts as well. We have also 4 squares, 3 circles, and 3 parks with where unofficial names are used. So they could be grouped into the following categories based on the field of activity: production, trade, catering, transport, active and creative, entertainment, funds, religion, or religious organizations. Some of the streets and squares have several ergonyms. Musailan Street, it's Anusharan, Kinoprakat, Khul Hamrer, and Paitamushakman names, because there were 4 enterprises located. The cinema renting, also the sweets factory, also wood factory, and for other places there were used so-called Chulochni and Kakhkum areas, because the City Communist Party building and the textile factory were located on that street, and people in Gyumri still use these ergonyms, though many of the enterprises are either shut down or do not have the previous volume of production. So not always the ergonyms repeat letter by letter the name of the enterprise. So contextualization plays a role here, as well as some specific features of the local language. So Stroimash are following the name of the Stroimash enterprise, which was producing stone cutting equipment. Mass Kombinat, that's meat production factory. It's the Russian acronym for it, or shortened version of the Russian name. Textile Kombinat is from the textile factory. Sovkhoz is from Sovkhoz Technicum. In 1980s, it was Hatzik Agricultural College, but they still use Sovkhoz Technicum. Hulhambrej. Hulhambrej is a shortened version of the building for the union of people with hearing and speech impairments. Kino Yerevan Ergonym has changed its ye to e, and it's called Erevan instead of Yerevan. There is also Patamsky name from botanic garden. It is wrongly pronounced word. So all those names have also official names, and our study shows that in the daily language, urbanonyms made of ergonyms are competing with official urbanonyms, are winning over, and this success is based on several factors which have a general and specific nature. First of all, official and non-official names are following different strategies of naming the urban landscape. Urbanovich and Holm say that after the Soviet Revolution, the names were named not based on the toponyms, but rather ideology. So the streets, parks, groves, districts were named not based on their topographic features or based on their economic or functional belonging or historical importance and value or features of the local population, but rather they were reflecting the different ideological notions, young communists, international, socialist international, etc., etc., as well as the names of the Bolshevik leaders, Kirov, Lenin, etc., which was rightly pointed out by Professor Levon Abraham in one of his studies. During the Soviet times in Leninakon, from some of the urbanonyms we can remember Katsayatan Street or Katselny Street and Tsanandatan Street. So the boiling house and the maternity house buildings. And in one of the districts, we were calling it textile district, there were only buildings basically given to the workers of those factories. There was also Andaman district, and locals call it Andar or Andarner, which means area covered with forests, which was a historical resemblance of the forests covering that area. Out of 3 highways, the main names are based on ideological approach or basically have numbers, as in case of the newly built Ani district, where many of the streets have only numbers. Unofficial ergonyms are created based on topographic belonging and other features. So they're called by the names of different plants, organizations, and factories. And in those urban places, they refer to the fact that some organizations, enterprises have existed in that district at some point of time. So the urban landscape areas which do not have official names are also called by their topographic names or toponyms. For example, crossroads, intersections, or bus stops are called by ergonyms. So the crossroad of the seventh, the crossroad of the eighth, the dermatological cross section, etc. Twin sources or springs, stop, etc., etc. Why and how these daily or unofficial urbanonyms are able to win over the official urbanonyms? Because they are better recognized, they're more visible, and they better represent that part of the landscape. It should be also added that in different areas of Gyumri Lenakan landscape, there were different plants located, and using the names of those plants go beyond the boundaries of those enterprise districts and are being widely used in the city, as opposed to, for example, people living near the textile street who could have been informed about the official name of the street, which was Kalinina now Garaginashte. People in other parts of the city were not familiar with the official names and were using textile street, which is showing that this street was important for them because the textile factory was located there because they or their relatives, friends were working in that or were employed at that factory, and it was the street where themselves or their close friends or relatives were working, and this is the importance of the street for them. So the taxi drivers, postman, or people who had to know the addresses know the Gorky Street, but Kino Erevan Street is well known beyond the city because Yerevan Cinema was one of the three cinemas which was one of the most visited ones. Several park streets and squares of Gyumri and Lenakan, which have ergonyms, have proven that the decisive role for ergonyms belongs to the importance of those specific organizations, entities, and factories in the city. So, on Kalinin Street, besides the textile factory, which is Karagineshte Street, there was also so-called Shlifovalny, the polishing factory, but the street is known under textile street name. It was the largest factory in Gyumri, where 6,000 people were employed, as opposed to 1,500 employees at the polishing factory. It is also applied to the park, which is the official name of the Friendship Park. And it was, by the way, closer to the polishing factory. We have also another intersection known as Kruk, but Kruk is less used than Kino Hayastan, which is Armenia cinema, and it was a transport hub well known to people traveling on that route, and Hayastan cinema was known as one of the three most visited cinemas. There are also some Gertsen, Kutaisi, Kostoyan, Manouchian Street, Sakharov Square. Those are known under their official names, but they do not have any, let's say, enterprise or organization of the city importance or national importance, and therefore they are known under their official names. and basically they serve for the purposes of educating the local people or people who are living in those districts. Uh, in 1990s, they were official names of the streets, sorry, unofficial names used on the transport, Sovkhoz, Textile, Мясcombinat, and others. They were used on the public transportation and made them even more widely used. And also, there are also some new urbanonyms which have been originated in the post-Soviet times with the shrinking population of the who were living in the Soviet times and increasing number of those who were born during the independence. We have, for example, in Ani district, so-called Virgin Park or Pyaterichki Street, Vanaturi Street are used only in the city. Some of the streets are named after the benevolent organizations or well-known shops or trade organizations. There is also a tradition of naming. There's a Soviet tradition of using ergonyms as still used. So there are no large enterprises built after the Soviet Union, but there are some medium and small enterprises which somehow hybridized the urban landscape and led to new urbanonyms. They're reference points for the districts where they are situated. Many coffee shops, bars didn't have their specific names, and they were known only under certain numbers, but they were also remembered based on the ergonyms used in that specific district. And now they have names: Yagli House, OK, Corona, Pyaterichka, and others, which are ergonyms originated outside Gyumri. It is due to the fact that during the Soviet times there was only one owner of all enterprises and organizations. It was the state. Now we have some private owners, a multitude of owners, and they represent different tastes that these people have, and those names also reflect the ergonyms. And some organizations and some such medium and small enterprises are known now under the new ergonyms without even reference to the street or districts where they're located. This creates a chaos and makes it difficult to move around the city, and a young taxi driver should know what is Anushavan, but an elder passenger may not know Musailan Street. And this is a way of communication. It should be ensured that this communication is uninterrupted. This could be supported by making some of unofficial urbaniums official ones. Some of the unofficial urbaniums are linked also to the history of the city. By making them official ones, we can also support the recovery of the city history. It could also interest the newcomers because they are dealing with official urbaniums only. In 1960s and in the post-Soviet times, such approach was adopted in Moscow and St. Petersburg in Russian Federation. So Nevsky Prospect has been returned its old name. It's a habitualized norm. In many other countries, in Paris, many of the official ur- urbanonyms have been taken from unofficial ones, which were created based on the toponymic approach. This approach, on the one hand, is sorting out the cows with the names in the city helps to move around the city, and on the other hand, expands historical, economic,